Today I've got a quick follow-up about something I talked about in previous videos. Pardon my notes, I want to make sure I get some names right. This video is about some of the realities of living abroad, because you don't just move, you also have to learn how everything truly works. And when there's an actual crisis, things can feel a little impossible sometimes. But because this is France, things do move slowly. But there is a process that you follow to get resolution when there's some kind of a dispute or a problem, say with your rental house. Today I'm going to tell you what I legally can about what we're dealing with, and hopefully this will be useful to you either now or in the future if you decide to do something as crazy as we have apparently and move to France. So in previous videos, I have mentioned that we have an ongoing situation of water damage in our house because of a broken underground pipe. That is nothing we had a hand in. It's just something that happened in the house. This has gotten serious enough that this is moving into the legal process. Now in the US, this would already be in the hands of attorneys given the state of things, and I won't get too specific here. But in France, there's a multi-step process that you need to follow before you simply sue somebody. And that's probably for the best overall, but it's kind of a pain in the ass and we're figuring out as we go. So let me tell you what we're doing. And again, hopefully this will be useful to you, or it's just something good to know in case you ever find yourself in a similar situation. There are a few different entry points into the grievance resolution process once one-on-one negotiations have failed, which is where we are. And after a lot of research, we chose to go the MJD route to get started. I talked about the MJD in other videos. Susie has talked about them. The MJD is the Maison de Justice et du Droit, the House of Justice and of Rights. They're a free civil service, and the people who you consult with, the defenders of rights, are typically retired lawyers and judges in some cases. And they're not officially giving you legal advice, but they are definitely giving you legally informed advice, and they do a lot of research on issues and help you find the best path forward with what your given situation is. And there's a new level of their service, which we are just now discovering, which is called conciliation. And what they do is they appoint a Conciliateur de Justice, which is a neutral mediator to get involved and hear from both parties. Now, the conciliator is not acting as a judge, although again, they may be a former judge or lawyer or even civil servant who has deep subject area expertise that is relevant to the dispute that they're hearing. They don't decide the case legally. They help both sides try to reach an agreement. And if you can, they put their recommendation in writing and both parties sign, and then it's incumbent on both parties to proceed. And if they don't, that gets to the next step. But if you can't reach an agreement, they give you this recommendation that is documentation that helps when you move to the next step, which is the CDC. Now, that's not the Centers for Disease Control. In France, the CDC is the Commission Départementale de Conciliation. And if the MJD doesn't work, or if you just want to get a little bit more aggressive from the start and skip them, you go to this housing-specific commission, the Commission Départementale de Conciliation. They are more formal, it is a more structured process, and they issue an official opinion. And that's something that's hard to argue with later. But if someone does, then only after all of this do you move on to the final boss level, which is the tribunal. The Tribunal Judiciaire is an actual court with an actual judge who makes a legally binding decision. You can bring a lawyer, but it's not required necessarily. The judge, in our case, for instance, can order repairs of the house. They can reduce your rent retroactively, which in our case is obviously something that we wish for loss of use of significant parts of this house that we've been still paying the rent for. And they can even award damages, which I don't know a lot about the details of yet. And hopefully we don't even have to get there. Hopefully this can be resolved ahead of time. That's really what we're aiming for on our side. But we'll see how this goes, and I'll let you know when I can as this plays out. Honestly, this is one of the hardest aspects of living abroad. You are dealing with not just language difficulties, but systems and processes that you don't know that are not the same as what you would deal with back home. Basically, you don't know what you don't know. And sometimes your experiences from back home will transfer pretty cleanly to France, but often and other times they don't really transfer at all. And sometimes there are similarities to what you know from back home, but then there are key differences that are easy to mess up and can confuse the whole issue for you. And I want to say that I feel good about choosing the NJD to get started with this. They have been incredibly helpful to us in the past. And again, they don't solve your legal problems, but they can show you the path to resolution and help you to facilitate it by bringing people together in this case. And when you're in a situation like we are, that really helps. And it matters down the road too, depending on how this goes, that we have done the right thing all along. And so we're trying to start in the least aggressive yet serious and formal way we can to move things forward and get our house back. The downside to all of this is that you do have to go through this process in one form or another, and it takes time. And while you're waiting, your life is still happening, or you're trying for it to happen. For example, in our case, heading into the holidays this last year, we were planning to apply for my mother-in-law's visa in January to move her over here from China and to live with us, to help us with Geneva, our daughter, because right now I'm basically the full-time caregiver during the week. Susie has a full-time job and I deal with getting Jenny to and from daycare. And I can't travel for my work right now. And I missed several opportunities, things I could have gotten involved in, things I could have done that would have made a real difference in our lives. And I have career impact as a result of this. So getting my mother-in-law over here as soon as possible is great all around for the family dynamic, for helping out, and for professional reasons. But all that has had to go on hold for the indefinite future. She has her visa now. We went ahead and applied for it last month just because, it's better to get it and have it and have it ready so that when this resolves, we can move her on over here. But we're in limbo right now because we don't have a bedroom and a bathroom for her. So yeah, this is one of those things that's pretty much impossible to prepare for, but it is part of building a life someplace new. So I wanted to share this much in case it can be useful to you. You just have to figure things out as they come up, one step at a time. And that's what I'm going to get back to doing right now. So hopefully I will be back with you soon with a more upbeat video. But thanks for watching this. If you've had a similar experience in France or somewhere else, leave us your war story in the comments below. There's a little bit of comfort in numbers. So I would love any advice that you have if you have some. Thanks for watching.